Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to What's the Damage, the classic WTD question mark on my channel, the longest running series on my YouTube channel. My very first video ever was What's the Damage, you know, and today's topic is going to be something that I have already covered on this channel before. However, I don't consider today's video to be a remake because I'm going to be doing a different kind of video to the first one, you know, so I'm not wearing the same shirt which I normally do when it's a remake, you know, and I'm going to be giving you guys a lot more detailed info, you know, I'm going to be getting a lot more, I'm going to be diving much deeper into the topic, but it's something that's a little complicated to cover because there is so much information regarding this, you know, and I want you guys to look at this video as just sort of like a brief outline, you know. If you want to know more about what I'm going to talk about today, you can go online and read about it, watch a documentary on Netflix, you know, anything of the sort. Or watch another YouTube video, another YouTube channel, but this is basically just like a shortened version of things, you know. I'm going to be talking about Theodore Robert Bundy, who, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of many, is probably the worst serial killer of all time, you know. And this guy was active from 1974 to 1978, so a period there of 4 years where he killed a lot of women in 7 different states, you know. But he possibly started much earlier than that. He probably killed before, maybe in the late 60s, you know. There's really no way to know at this point because, well, he's not alive to tell us anymore, right? He was executed in 1989 at the age of 42, thank the Lord. And he, on his death row, he actually confessed to killing 30 victims, but the real number may very well be a lot higher based on the way that he expressed himself and certain other details that he said, you know. So, like, he confessed to killing 30 women, but we're all sure he killed more than that, you know. He actually might just have the highest body count of ever, but even if he's not the serial killer with the most victims, I still consider him to be the worst one for a few different reasons, you know. Now, the thing with Bundy is that he was notoriously cold-hearted, you know. He was actually a handsome guy. He was very charismatic and nice, you know, so he would exploit his charm and his good looks to lure his victims into a false sense of security, you know. He would actually groom them before he ever even touched them. He would sometimes pretend to be, you know, maybe like a teacher or a law enforcement, a police officer, you know. He would pretend to be somebody in high authority and ask them for help. Normally, he would feign injury. He would go to a crowded place with a lot of different girls, you know, and he would pretend that he was hurt, like he would be on crutches or with his arm in a sling, you know, asking for help carrying books to his car, you know. Normally when this happened, he would then overpower the girls and bludgeon them with something, you know, or just like he would incapacitate them in some way to take them somewhere else where he would eventually kill them. His preferred method of killing was strangulation, you know, because he wasn't a big fan of using knives or, you know, guns because of the ballistic evidence that guns would leave behind, and knives apparently would probably make a bloody mess, you know, so he was very hands-on with his approach, you know. Strangling somebody to death is a very personal way to take somebody's life because you're getting there. It was said about John Wayne Gacy as well, you know, you're there on top of the person, you're looking into their eyes as they die, you know. It's a very personal and intimate way for you to kill somebody, and Ted did it like it was nothing, you know. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about, you know, his victims, how, the women that he targeted, things that he did, you know, and all of that. Might be a pretty long video, so before I continue, let's take a look at some photos of what this guy looked like, and I'm pretty sure the photos are either going to be in black and white or not the best quality, but let's just see what this son of a gun looked like. I mean, just by looking at his photos, he really does seem to be just a regular, ordinary guy, right? He actually studied law. He was a pretty proficient law student. He was really well regarded by his professors, you know. I do believe he graduated at one point. He actually was a lawyer, you know, and he was actually really good at it. Something that he exploited to defend himself in court, but we're gonna get to that later. Now, the thing with Bundy is that aside from being a brutal serial killer, you know, he was also a necrophiliac, which means that he felt a sexual attraction towards corpses, you know, and after he killed his victims by strangling them, he would sometimes rape them, whether or not they were alive or dead at that point. He would actually you know, perform sexual acts with the corpses until decomposition. So he would literally, you know, have sex with the rotting corpses of these women, you know, until they rotted to the point of no return, or animals, you know, picked them apart, you know. So it's really disgusting. He would actually groom them, dress them in clothes, comb their hair, and he would take photos as to serve as this bastard guy outside here. You see, why can't these assholes be killed by a guy like Bundy? Why only the innocent girls of the world? Anyway, so yeah, and then he would want to keep them, you know, the photos as mementos. And speaking of mementos, he actually severed the heads of 12 of his victims at one point to keep also as mementos in his apartment, you know. The police actually went there at one point to investigate, and they didn't find the heads or the Polaroid photos he took of the victims, you know. So yes, he was actually kind of a coward as well, because sometimes he would try to lure girls into his trap, and when that didn't work, he would creep into places like sorority houses at night and bludgeon them as they slept, you know. So this guy really truly was the cowardly of cowards, you know. He would never engage men. His victims were never men who could pose a threat to him, you know. He would always go after poor, defenseless women, you know. So I don't know, dude, you know. And in 1975, he was arrested for the first time, and it was actually in Utah, and apparently for aggravated kidnapping and attempted criminal assault, you know. And in this particular moment where he got arrested, the officer had no idea that he caught already one of the most heinous serial killers in the country, you know. But he found in his car some items that I'm going to be listing off now: a ski mask and another mask made from pantyhose, a crowbar, handcuffs, trash bags, a coil of rope, an ice pick, and other items that could be used for burglary tools, you know. He did try to write it off, you know, that like the ski mask was just for skiing, and the mask he found in a dumpster, you know, and the rest was just random household items, you know, then this and that. The handcuffs he found in a dumpster, you know, all of that stuff. He did try to you know, kind of make himself seem a little bit more innocent, because Ted was kind of the picture of innocence, you know. Because when you looked at this guy, you would never imagine that he could be capable of committing such heinous crimes, you know, because when you think of a serial killer, especially back in the 70s, you would think of a guy who looked very deranged, you know, maybe a little chubby with scars and shaved head and crazy eyes and couldn't smile, you know, like a guy who was wearing tattered clothes and covered in blood. Like, we had the image of a serial killer as literally a monster in human form, and Ted Bundy looked like a regular guy, you know. He was really nice, he was easy to approach, he was very sympathetic and outgoing, he was extroverted, you know, and he was really, really charismatic and extremely charming towards women, you know. So at one point he even began dating a woman. I already forgot her name, but I think it was Elizabeth Klepfer, you know. And for some reason he never felt the need to hurt her or her young daughter, you know, who they all lived together. He actually got away from Liz, you know, whenever he felt the sickness building inside of him. So whenever he got the urge to kill, he would go away from her immediately and kill somebody else and come back, you know. She has no idea how lucky she was, man. But of course, her world came crashing down when she found out who she was with, you know. And before I go on, let's take a look at some more, or maybe some more photos or a video or something here. I don't know, whatever I can insert at this point.
I'm not an animal, and I'm not crazy. I'm on a split personality. I mean, I'm just a normal individual.
A person of this type chooses his victim for a reason: possession, control, violence.
I think the craziest thing about this entire operation here, you know, is that, you know, in the mid 70s, when he officially started killing, so he says, you know, like the victim count had actually gotten to 20 by the time that the police realized that they were actually hunting the same man, you know. They were going after the one guy who was doing all of the killing, you know, but by then he had already taken 20 victims. And now the thing with Bundy is that he was incarcerated in 75, but he actually managed to escape twice, and both times in 1977, you know. And like his first series of murders were in Washington, Oregon, and then Idaho, Utah, Oregon. Idaho, Utah, Colorado, you know. He was operating more around there. When he escaped, though, he actually went to commit some murders in Florida, you know, the place where I grew up. So he was actually very well-rounded with his murder spree, you know. And it's actually crazy because he had like this chameleon-esque like nature to him, where he could actually change his appearance very well. Sometimes it would be a haircut, sometimes he would shave, sometimes it seemed like he would lose weight or gain weight. He actually did lose weight before escaping prison for the second time, I believe, you know, so to make it a little easier. And he actually jumped out of a window, I think the first time, and sprained his ankles. And he would ultimately be caught in 1978, you know, and he was pretty much in and out of prison at that point. So, and then he would sometimes, I don't know, his appearance would change completely, different clothes, different appearance, you know. It's almost like he could change his appearance at will, you know. You guys might think, what difference does a haircut or a full shaven beard make? It makes a big difference, man, especially when you're talking about a guy like this who goes to different states, you know. And he drove his now trademarked, you know, beige, brownish Volkswagen Beetle, which he apparently never traded, never used a different car, you know. And he also gave his real name when he was trying to create fake personas of himself to lure his victims in, you know. And he would always call himself as Ted. And it was actually because of him that the FBI and the police came up with different search databases to try to find criminals, you know. I do believe Bundy's was the first case of using DNA testing, you know, to try to link a crime to a victim, you know. Some of the girls managed to escape, others didn't, you know. There was this girl named Carol Ann Roach, I believe that's her name, that she actually escaped from him, you know. She went with him to his car because apparently he was pretending to be a cop, and her car, he wanted to see if her car wasn't stolen. No, he wanted her to come down to the station with him. And then in the car, he told her to be quiet, else he was gonna break her neck, and he tried to handcuff her. But apparently, he in his haste, in his panic, he handcuffed both of the cuffs to the same wrist, I believe either on her or himself, and then she ran from him. And that's when he got enraged and went and bludgeoned girls in their sleep, you know. And the thing with Bundy is that he started to evolve over time with his killings. You know, as he gained more and more knowledge about how certain things worked in forensics, he would become better not just at killing but covering up his evidence, you know, covering up the bodies and either burying them or just taking some remains with him, you know. He would become better and better at it. At one point, he literally strolled right into the crime scene to pick up items that he left behind from his victim, you know. He, in broad daylight, he just walked into the crime scene, you know, and nobody saw him, you know. And or they did, but they didn't make any note of it. So when he was on trial for the murders, he actually represented himself in court, you know. He was his own lawyer, and he was surprisingly well at doing it, you know. He was really good at maintaining his innocence right down to the end, on the final day of his life, which is when he just, you know, like spilled the beans, you know. And in court, it really was a sight to see, you know. There is footage of it, by the way. Maybe I'll insert it next. I don't know if I can get it legally here. But so that's how it is. And the thing with the killings is that back in university, he dated a girl who I believe was named Stephanie Brooks, or he wanted to date her. She rejected him, you know. And like, if you go into his pathology, his victim profiles, every single one of the girls he killed looked pretty much the same. They were all Caucasian with nice dark colored hair, you know. They were like in their maybe early to mid 20s, you know. Pretty much they resembled Stephanie in every way. So it's theorized that he kind of went on a personal vendetta against girls who looked like the one who rejected him, you know. So that's why he killed girls who all looked the same. Eventually, at one point when he was a successful lawyer, I think he even dated Stephanie, and then when they were almost about to marry, he dumped her, you know, and she didn't understand why, but he said, well, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could date her, you know, and that's it. So he got his revenge on her there. And that wasn't enough, though. It wasn't enough to satiate. Ted Bundy is a classic sadistic sociopath. Not even a sociopath, a full-blown psychopath, you know. He just killed for the hell of killing, you know. He wanted to take lives for the sake of it, the thrill of the chase. And he was very narcissistic, you know. He always considered himself to be smarter than the police, so that's why he would always tempt fate, you know. He liked to be chased by them. He liked for them to be looking for him. He liked to leave behind certain things so the police could find, but never linked to him, you know. But eventually the house of cards did come crashing down at one point, you know, and he just took pleasure from other people's pains, man. That's just a classic psychopath right there, you know. You can call him a sociopath, you can call him a psychopath. To me, he just wasn't even human at all. And attorney Paulie Nelson, who was a member of his last defense team, actually went on to say that he was the very definition of heartless evil. And it's hard to disagree. Let's take a look at something else here before I continue.
I can't really talk about that right now. That's weird. It's too painful. Yeah. I would like to be able to convey to you what that experience is like, but I won't be able to talk about that.
Okay.
Now, regarding the last thing that I said about, the girls being similar to Stephanie Brooks, the one who rejected him, apparently he himself went on record to say that it was just a coincidence, that his victims just all fit the criteria of being, young and attractive, and that's what he was looking for. And like the girls apparently weren't really that similar. It was just a coincidence, and people were just making up stories, And apparently they were all different, but that's up to you. If you look at the photos of his victims, you can judge that for yourself, If you guys notice that I'm having a hard time getting through this video, it's because it's really hard to talk about Bundy, because my heart just breaks when I think of all these innocent girls who just wanted to help a guy who looked like he was in trouble, maybe carrying some books here. They were really kind-hearted girls with good hearts, and they were just killed for no reason at all, man. It's really hard to talk about Bundy. This is a hard video to do for YouTube. And I'm going to be leaving throughout the video here links sporadically to different videos, but there is something on to different videos on different channels talking about Bundy, There is a documentary on Netflix. It's a limited series. I think it's a few episodes long, which is Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy tapes, which you can find so much more detailed background about his killings, that come from him himself. He actually gave interviews and confessed to some of the killings. Now let's get into the actual something a little bit more detailed here towards the end of the video. I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of an outline here. I have been avoiding using names and ages of the victims here in the video, because if I do that, it's gonna get way too damn long. So I'm just gonna try to sugarcoat it where I can. He officially on record started his killing in 1974 in Washington, Oregon, and just there alone, he killed, I'm counting here in real time, 9 different girls, okay, just there in Oregon. And then later on, he would go to Utah in the same year, and there he killed another 5. Okay, and then in the next year, in 1975, apparently this was in Utah, Colorado, and Idaho, different places there. I think one is in the other. No, I don't think so. I think they're all different states, actually. Wow, I really know my geography, huh? So in 1975 in Utah, Colorado, Idaho, he killed another 5 girls, And then because he was kind of in and out of prison at that time, and he was trying to lay low here and there, in 1978, that's when he would kill again in Florida, and he would claim 6 victims. Now, the thing with Ted is that he just felt this very strange need, to kill, and I've been reading here, guys, and even before that, I've been trying to look at things here, and it's just really strange how Ted worked. Apparently he had a few rules about killing. He would never approach somebody he had met before, apparently he didn't like to make connections with his victims. There was this thing where when he was driving his victim in a car, or even beforehand, he would avoid looking them in the eye or talking to them, He would avoid getting to know them more, because apparently, it becomes too real. And he had this craving fantasy of murdering people and taking their lives and being in control. And apparently, according to him, if he knew too much about the person, it would ruin that fantasy, It would become too real. The person would become too real, And that's where he couldn't bring himself to kill them, So that's why he would stay away from people he knew, maybe friends of people he knew, He wouldn't kill too close to home, too close to work, too close to college, Because it would be too easy to find him. In general, guys, everything about this guy was wrong, and there are more possible victims, by the way. There are a total of, I'm gonna count now in real time here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 possible other victims that he was responsible for. Like I said, his victim count might have been a lot higher, but we will never know now, because this son of a gun was executed. Thank the Lord. And honestly, guys, coming up on the 20-minute mark now, I think I'm gonna end this video here, also because my battery is running low, so I gotta stop it here. And that's pretty much it. That has been my slightly deeper dive into Ted Bundy than my previous video, which you guys can forget. In total, he committed, so he confirmed, there are 20 confirmed victims, okay? And he confessed to 30 of them, but he is suspected to have killed, maybe 40 or more. Committed his crimes in California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Oregon, Utah, and Washington. Not in order, just the way that they were listed here. And that's it. I'm gonna go here because I'm actually starting to get sick just talking about this. You know, I'm looking at photos of Ted Bundy's hands. Like, what have those hands done, man? The atrocities that they committed. I don't want to get too much into detail like about the trial and the court thing because I don't know too much about law and it's just gonna get too long. And let me know what you guys thought about this video. I'm sorry for the lack of enthusiasm. It's just hard to get through this video, you know, without my stomach turning upside down. That's it for now, guys. If you happen to enjoy this video, if you learned something new, please go ahead and give it a like. Go and watch other videos too on other channels that I left links sporadically here, you know, it's gonna be really nice. If you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, might as well hit the notification bell too to know exactly what time I upload, huh? Videos every single day on the Chazzy channel. And that's it, guys. This is Chazzy signing out for now. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video, hopefully in a much more enthusiastic tone. Roll the outro screen.